Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching this week. Really appreciate it. The subject matter for this week is how to be great in the kingdom of heaven. This is such an important topic, and it's probably not going to be what you might think. You know, the world has a way different definition of greatness. You know, we might think of greatness as someone who's accomplished a lot in their life, maybe done a lot of even good things. Maybe some people think greatness is the size of a bank account, that they've had a lot of success in business or things like that. But you know, the Bible is clear in Matthew 18. The disciples actually came to Jesus and said, "Who among us is the greatest? Who's the greatest?" And they were talking about position. They weren't really meaning servanthood wise, but Jesus had an interesting answer. There was a little child there close by to them, so he set this little child in the midst of them, and he told them, "You want to be great? Become like this little child." So I want to read that little passage in Matthew 18 so you can hear for yourself what it says. So the disciples had come and said, "Well, who's the greatest?" And Jesus said, "Assuredly, I say to you, unless you are converted and become like this little child, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven." Wow. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So think about little children for a moment. And this actually said little child. So a little child, the most unassuming people on the planet, they are weak, they're dependent, they're completely dependent upon their parents and God to take care of them. They are unassuming. You know, they're just innocent. And so really the most humble people there are, because they don't really know any other way to be. And being like a little child is absolutely the opposite of pride. And that's what Jesus was trying to get across. You know, the Bible's really clear about how God actually hates pride. It says he hates it. And being like a little child and humbling yourself before him, that's what he says is great. And that's what really appears to get his attention. Also, over in Matthew 23, it talks about those that try to exalt themselves will be humbled, but those who will humble themselves before him will get to be exalted. It says that again in 1 Peter, that therefore, if you humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, he will exalt you in due time, in his due time. So, you know, instead of going through life scratching and clawing, trying to get to the top, trying to be seen, trying to be important, trying to be great, you know, like the disciples said, "How do I get greatness?" We don't have to do that, friend. All we have to do is humble ourselves like a little child. Really breathe that in. I want to bless everybody that's hearing this with that. Become childlike. You know, there's also a lot of peace in that. Do you see little children worrying about tomorrow or how they're going to be taken care of? Little children don't worry about things. They don't worry about bills. They don't worry about jobs. They don't worry about anything really. So there's a lot to this that the Lord is trying to get across here. We don't need position. We don't need prestige. We don't need things. We don't need to spend our life chasing things that are never going to satisfy. But if we want to be great, we come low and we humble ourselves and we submit to the will of God and we wait. And in his due time, like it says in 1 Peter, if we humble ourselves in his due time, he will exalt us to where he wants us to be. So I love this. I have really gotten a lot out of this, and I know that you will too. And I bless you, and I want you to go read those scriptures, Matthew 18, Matthew 23, and 1 Peter 5, verse 6. Go read those scriptures and really meditate on what they're telling you. Humble means to come low, to abase yourself, to not think more highly of yourself than you ought to think. So this is greatness. This will get you advanced in the kingdom in God's due time. I love you all. I'll see you next week.